A Lesson to Learn, One Terrible Thanksgiving, a memoir by Ryan Little. "Ryan, it is time to get up," my mom exclaimed as her voice traveled throughout the whole house. I aggressively rolled over to check the time and groaned as my alarm clock read 6 a.m. It was every year, at the same time on the same day, that I had to wake up early on Thanksgiving morning and prepare myself to run the annual turkey trot. Ever since we had moved to Texas, I despised celebrating Thanksgiving. My family tried to start all of these new traditions like going to the kolache factory after our run, doing the turkey trot, remaking some of my May's famous holiday delicacies, and watching Christmas Vacation. Although we had all of these new traditions, the holiday had never felt lonelier celebrating it with just the four of us. I rolled out of bed and threw on the first set of workout clothes I could find, which was my faded pink Nike quarter zip and my black Lululemon leggings. I then threw my rat's nest into a messy bun. I took a quick look in the mirror and said to myself, whatever, this will have to do. I marched downstairs, and as I approached the front door, I was startled by a loud honk. "I'm coming, Dad! Chill out!" I screamed as I entered the car filled with my family and Christmas carols. "Rye, that was not me. That was your brother who honked at you," said my dad apologetically. I shot a cold look at my brother and proceeded to flick him on top of the head. "Mom! Ryan just flicked me!" yelled my brother annoyingly. My mom shot a look at me, which translated to, "Please, not today." I nodded accordingly and sat in the car dreading the arrival to the race. When we arrived at the race, there were thousands of people dressed to the nines in the most ridiculous outfits, like actual turkeys. I began to think to myself, wow, people really love this holiday. At the race, there were a plethora of tents that provided different food samples, clothes, and even games to help celebrate Thanksgiving. After we walked around and looked at different attractions, the race was about to start. I asked my brother if he wanted to race, and whoever won would have the most pumpkin pie at dinner. He nodded and stuck out his hand to shake on it. I agreed by returning the gesture. Then, the microphone screeched with, "All right, racers, let's do this thing. On your mark, get set, go." Just like that, my brother and I were off. We weaved through the herds of people. I could feel myself starting to breathe louder and louder. My legs were growing with exhaustion, and my lungs were burning like a fire. "Come on, Ryan, just a little bit longer. You are almost there," I thought while trying to push away the pain. We battled, back and forth, up until the finish line. Up until where he decided to push me out of the way so I could not beat him. After he pushed me, I splattered on the concrete. I could feel my knee bleeding through my leggings and my eyes filling up with hot and salty tears. They began to stream down my face unwillingly as I jumped up to go hunt down my brother. "Jack Michael Little, get over here right now." He quickly turned around, and as I hobbled over to him, I landed a punch right in the middle of his face. It was like time went into slow motion as I watched the blood start to pour down from my brother's face and his eyes swell with different shades of purple. I held my throbbing fist in my other hand and began to turn around to see all of the wandering eyes looking at the circus that was my brother and I. I immediately felt embarrassed. Why did I just do that? I thought stupidly to myself. A crowd of people came up to us, which included 2 cops, my parents, and the event directors. "What in the world just happened?" exclaimed my mom with confusion. The cops began to answer her, but to me, it sounded like blah, 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 blah. I could see the disappointment in both of my parents' faces as they dragged us out of the YMCA parking lot. "Ow! Mom, not that hand. It hurts. Please be careful," I said softly. "Well, I am sorry, Ryan, but it is probably because you just hit your brother in the face," she exclaimed. "Did you not see what he did to me? We were racing and he decided to push me for no reason," as I dropped her hand and began to pull up my leggings to show her the gaping hole in my leg that was oozing blood. "I am so upset with the both of you. Show your father your hand. We will probably have to go to the emergency room," she said with disbelief. As I walked over to my dad, he could see the battered and bruised mess that was my right hand. "Yeah, we're going to need to go get that checked out," my dad said. I started to cry all over again. I felt so ashamed to have made such a scene over something that could have been easily avoided without violence and immaturity. As the car door shut and the seatbelts clicked, My brother and I just stared at each other the entire duration of the ride to the hospital. As we walked in, we were greeted with nurses, who began to tend to my brother and I's injuries. They said that my brother was fine and that he might need to take Advil for the swelling of his face. The nurses insisted that they needed to x-ray my hand to see if it had any fractures. To my luck, I had a boxer's fracture, no pun intended, and would need to be fitted for a cast. I would be out for 4 to 6 weeks and could not participate in any sport activity. I was crushed. I had embarrassed my family, myself, and could not practice for my upcoming track season, all for a stupid race. We had spent the whole day at the hospital, and the tension between my family was unsettling. We had missed our kolache run, watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, making homemade Thanksgiving delicacies, and most importantly, spending time with each other as a family. We left the hospital, and everyone's head hung low with sorrow. Before I got in the car, my brother grabbed me tight. He began to whisper in my ear, "I am so sorry. I should have never pushed you." I hugged him back with my club and all, and said, "I'm sorry too, Jack." Thanksgiving night ended up being better than the day had been. We got takeout, and my mom ended up making the pumpkin pie for us. We sat as a family and discussed that siblings should always be there for each other, and that we should never resort to violence to solve a problem. My brother and I knew that we let our competitive nature and emotions get the best of us. After, we began to watch Christmas Vacation, which is one of the longest standing traditions in my household. We all sat under the bright lights of the Christmas tree and enjoyed being together as a family again. I realized that my brother and I had a lot of maturity to gain, but rivalry comes with growing up with a sibling so close in age with you. Although sibling rivalries can be horrific at times, I learned that they will always be there for one another no matter what the circumstances are.